Hi, welcome to another TerranScapes video. This is going to be a question and answer episode, and normally I pull the laptop over and I read the questions more verbatim, but today I'm going to be going off of some paper notes, mainly because I'm rendering a video and I don't want to mess with it, so we'll let that run and I will do the best that I can off of these. And I just want to make a quick note to say that, you know, still, little audio problem with the last episode, little color issues I've been working on and depth of field. Got a new light box though, nice and bright. I get to push that way back, that's nice. Why am I mentioning this? I have a lot of respect for the people who do stuff with video as part of their job, like going out to interview people and, you know, they have to do a corporate, you know, video or whatever. There's a lot of tricks and paying attention to small details, and I'm gonna keep trying, of course, but man, there's a lot to keep track of. So anyway, props to those people, because you don't get to reshoot those 3 times, you know? All right, so let's get into the questions, shall we? Mike writes, why are my modular boards 10 inches by 20 inches? Basically, it is because it's the way I can get the maximum amount of foam out of a single sheet. The sheets I buy are, what are they? They're 8 foot by 2 foot, but they are, what do you call it? Tongue and groove ends. So I have to trim off a couple inches on the ends. So it's 96 by 21, I think, when I'm all said and done. Plus I have to trim a little off of the actual other ends because those are usually dinged or whatever. So I'm looking at, like, you know, 21 by 90, let's say 90, right? So I can get 9 boards out of it if I cut 20 by 10s. And that's actually the only real reason. Mike also sent me a picture of some rock texture that he's been creating in his foam. I'll put that picture right here. And he's just banging at it with a hammer and painting it up. And it looks good. This is, I'll put a link to that in the description. And that is at the TerraGenesis, I think is the name of it. Anyway, I'm a little self-conscious. If I look up, right, I get a little glare in my glasses. I'm trying not to look up. I don't know. I'm neurotic sometimes. In any case, go take a look at that, and you can see more of how he has created that texture. Very nice. Very simple. Great example of how you can get effective terrain out of a very basic technique, and worth a look. So thanks for sending that picture, Mike. Greg writes, he's building terrain for Halo Mega Blocks. These are like 2-inch figures of the Halo game, and he wants to make a desk display, and he wants it to be 15 by 20 by 12 high and semi-modular for transportation. And it's an interesting question for the Q&A because it's kind of hard to summarize. So he sent me some pictures as well. So I'm gonna run through those pictures. I'm gonna put the first one up here. And this is his rock carving. And I just wanted to say, I think it looks great. You know, he was using some of the, trying some of the techniques that I've shown when I did the Goblin, the set for the, oh gosh, the GW Lord of the Rings Goblin set, and I had done some sort of like slate carved walls. Very popular. My gosh, the number of hits on that video. I had a link to another video where the guy was doing that technique, which is where I got it. So he was looking at those, taking a little inspiration. Anyway, I like it. And I was thinking, you know, when you paint that up, give it some dry brushing, and don't forget to add in some colors that are not gray, white, and black. Never go to white. Add in a little brown, add in a little maybe deep brownish red, something like that. Dry brush that up unevenly, bring it up to a gray, light gray, off-white highlight. And then give it a wash. give it a nice dark wash. You got lots of nooks and crannies in there, and that's going to accentuate those shadows, and then go back over it maybe with a touch-up dry brush, and I think that would work well there. Then in this picture, this is his waterfall face, and I don't know how he did the brickwork on this. I love it though. I think it looks really effective, and you can see there's a nice sluice that's going to have the water pouring out of it. And for the waterfall itself, there are lots of ways to do waterfalls, but a very good basic way is to use Woodland Scenics water effects. They show this on some of their videos. You can go and look at Woodland Scenics videos on water effects, and they'll go through some of this process. But basically, you use like a Teflon pan or wax paper or parchment paper. I recommend parchment paper, but if you have a Teflon cookie sheet, that works as well. And then you dribble it out, you know, to make, and take a little popsicle stick and make as wide as you want your waterfall out, as far as it's going to fall, and then let that dry. You might want to put maybe an extra layer over it, let it dry clear, give it time, and then you can peel it off, and you can stick it onto where the water pours out. Put a little Woodland Scenics water effects, dab it on there, use that as the glue, stick it on there, hang it down in the angle you want, and you put a little of the water effects at the bottom, and then you stick it into that, and then you can make the splashes around it with the same product, Woodland Scenics water effects. It's a great product. It's like a heavy-bodied gloss gel, and it's a simple way to get an effective technique that's very manageable as a first go. Sometimes people use what am I thinking of? Like clear plastic, like from a kind of like blister pack plastic, but there's no blister packs this big. I've gotten like boxes of trees, not boxes. What do you? It's kind of like a box, like a plastic box, sort of like a plastic tray, right, with a lid, bubble, blister, giant pack. You know what I mean? And anyway, it's nice and big, so I was able to cut strips out of it, and then you can kind of heat that a little bit with the hair dryer and make a, you know, a curve, and then you can put water effects on top of that. But, you know, spread some out, let it dry, peel it off, tack it in place, you'll get a good effect. And when you do the splash at the bottom, you know, do it in layers, chop it up, tease it with a popsicle stick, and then give it a little dry brush with some white paint, and then little cotton fibers, you know, to make it misty. Cotton fibers seem to be a bit of a I don't want to call it controversy. American politics is controversial, not cotton and waterfall. But some people are like, no, and some people are like, yeah, I like it. I like it, but I understand why people might not want to. But anyway, tease out some cotton fibers and stick them in there if you like that look, and it'll give a little misty foam look to the bottom of that. And here is his top-down map showing the general layout, and without thinking about it too much, the first thing that occurred to me is don't forget that in the back of your board, okay, you want something. You're going to have your cliff wall, but you're going to want something to help visually transition that to the base of the board, the ground. Otherwise, you're going to have this weird right angle, and it's going to look unnatural. So I would put some vegetation, some tall vegetation, like a dense row of trees. Buy some pre-made trees, TerranScapes, which is Bachman Company. You can find these on hobbylink.com. They have pre-made conifers that look great. I love them, and they are reasonably priced. Anyway, you could put a couple stands of those against that to help visually transition down to the flat area, and it will add some interest, right, some framing for your miniatures more towards the front. And because it's not for gaming, you can do whatever you want, right? Add some big rocks, add some more shrubs and clumps of vegetation around it, and give it some interest as you move forward, right? You bring your eye down to the front, and then you're not blocking things in the back. Unless that's something specific you want to do, you can do that. It's very effective as a diorama, but for a desktop display, you probably don't, maybe need to go in that direction, and it's a little bit easier to just have things kind of fall forward, and it's a great start. So that would be my recommendation on that project, and good luck on it. Look, I'm not reshooting this. Good luck on that project. Be fun to have that out on your desk. Michael writes, he asks about my logo and the castle. I can never tell which side it's going to be on, and the castle symbol that is on there, and whether that's a specific castle or something I created. I actually got my logo from 99 Designs. 99 Designs is a website where you basically bid out a project, right? So you offer whatever you might want to pay for your logo. I forget what I put it up for, maybe like $200 or $300 or something like that. And then people will submit logos for you to choose from, right? And the one you choose is the winner, and then you pay them. Actually, it goes into escrow in 99 Designs, and then they allocate the money to the winner, and so it's all kind of legit. The cool thing about it is that you get a whole selection of logos or whatever you're looking for to choose from, and of course you get more and higher quality probably as you increase the amount you're willing to pay for it. So I recommend it if people are looking for a logo and they don't know somebody who does graphic design. That's where I got this, and I submit like a little guideline. Here's kind of what I want. It wasn't exactly what I envisioned, but it came out great. I like it, at least. So 99 Designs, that's where I got my logo. Wooter, and forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that right, is making terrain for an outdoor display. He sent me some pictures of things that he was, interested in trying to model. Now, things like pyramids or maybe small castles or towers, things like that. There's a couple options, and it depends a little bit on your scale that you're working in. So I'm assuming outdoors, we're talking maybe a little bit bigger. And if you do that, you could use Hot Wire Foam Factory's foam coat. They have an exterior foam coat that's designed for things that are going to be put outside. And if you're doing something with a rock texture, stone texture, it's great because it's got a little grit in it, and the grit actually will work better as the scale increases. And it's fairly easy to apply. It's relatively low cost for what you're getting, and so you could carve it up in your foam, whatever it is, and then apply this to seal it and protect it. And then painting over that, I'm not really going to say I know the exact best paint to use. However, if you go to the Lizard Landscapes channel, and if you are new to the channel, thank you for joining me. And about 2 videos back, maybe 3, I can't remember exactly, I put up a list of some of the terrain channels that I'm watching. Lizard Landscapes was in that list, and he does terrarium terrain for lizards, other reptiles, that kind of idea. But often the terrarium is going to have a water component to it. So he is focused on making things waterproof and safe for animals. But if it's going to be something that's right next to a waterfall and it's going to be constantly wet from the pump, pouring it out, it's got to be waterproof. So I recommend checking out his channel, and you will definitely get some ideas about the kinds of things that can be done that would be weather resistant. And I would say talk to the Hot Wire Foam Factory people, because they work with people who are doing outdoor stuff, and you could ask them what kinds of paints people are using, or they might hook you up with somebody who's done an outdoor project that you could email or talk to. They're super friendly, very helpful, and I recommend not being afraid of chatting them up about your project. But rocky texture, exterior foam coat, I think that's a good way to go. But check out Lizard Landscapes to see what he's doing, because he's definitely doing different things. CH writes, he has a wood castle, and I'm going to put a picture here that he made. It looks laser cut out of plywood. It's pretty nice. I was pretty nice. It's nice. It looks great, you know? And he wants to know how to paint this to look like stone. So that adds a challenge, because you are painting a flat surface, but you probably want it to have, some brick appearance, stone, block appearance. And so I had two ideas on that. One is to use a trompe l'oeil. I looked up how to pronounce it because I can't ever remember. And I'll put that word here. And it basically is a painting technique where you try to create the impression of a three-dimensional object on a two-dimensional plane. And sometimes people will do that, make it look like it's a window, looking out onto a courtyard or something like that when it's just painted on the wall. That technique can be used even in a simplified way to make stone blocks or cobblestone or whatever. And I believe, I'm not going to look it up, but you might want to take a look at the Hearst Art site, Tricks and Tips, and in there, it's going to be early on in them. I think it was him that showed how to do simple painting for like a floor. He was doing like a church floor or something. And, it's like painting your stones, right? You do the outline, you hit them with a highlight on one side, you hit them with a shadow on the other. I actually used that technique on my floor in the basement because I had a spot that I didn't have carpet over, and it looked great. It wasn't stunning, but it looked okay, and that's blowing it up where it actually is harder to make that convincing. So take a look at that and think about that, but that's going to be, that's a lot of little blocks to paint and highlight, but your castle's going to have a lot of work to do on this anyway, so that would be one thing I would think about. A second idea would be to use like air drying clay, and you could roll that out into thin sheets. You might want to get a pasta roller or a super sculpey roller. I think those are little craft rollers where you can press those out into nice even layers. You're going to want it to be relatively even, and then you could apply that to the wall and then press in and sculpt in actual blocks. Then you could paint that and dry brush that up, or however you want to do. But when you look at the castle, it has some nooks and crannies that are going to be kind of hard to get into. There's a lot of things, texture, angles that you will need to work with. So I don't think there's going to be a simple way of doing it. But since you did this and it looks so nice, you're probably not interested in a simple way. You're interested in looking good. So think about that. Painting in the stones and faux three-dimensioning them, trompe l'oeil, or actually creating a texture that you can apply to it. You're not going to get that kind of effect if you just, paint foam coat over it, right? Because you're not going to get those impressions. I'm trying to think if I have seen somebody's channel doing this. Something is in the back of my mind, but I can't remember it exactly. You could do the air dry clay, give it some exaggerated texture, then put foam coat over that to get the stony feel. So that's an option as well. I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to look. There's a video from, Terrain Direct or something, forgive me. I'm going to put the link to the video right here. And he was exploring using foam coat and other things to get texture, and it's probably worth taking a look at. because it's related to trying to get a stone texture that's fairly subtle. So take a look at that link, take a look at her starts, look up trompe l'oeil. That's going to be, don't be scared, think simple. Don't be scared when you look at that, because there's like awesome paintings that people have done. Keep it simple. And think about air dry clay. Not Sculpey. Air drying clay, I think, would be the way to go with that. Let's see here. Okay, it's Joti, but I think it's probably Yoti. Forgive me. How should he protect the sides of modular boards? So you've got your foam cuts, you know, and you want to assemble them into a 4x4 table. How do you protect those edges and not have it show? So you're going to have to laminate it somehow. You could get wood laminate, you know, they'll sell it in strips. The problem I've had, and I still have some laying around, is that when you cut it, it frequently splits along the grain. It's really hard for me to get a good clean cut, the width of the boards, and then glue that on. Looks nice if you get it done right, but you could do that. I've been using styrene, not the easiest, but it's very durable. You could use thin strips of plywood. If you're handy with a table saw, you could probably just rip them out, you know, glue them in place, little wood glue. It's not going to take much. Once you have those put in, then surface the top, and you can surface right over those protective veneers whenever you look at or choose, and then you won't see them. So whatever you use, you're going to need to apply something, and then you will surface it after that to hide it. I have an idea that was given to me about a different way to protect boards, but I'm not going to share it until I try it, and I probably won't try it for a little bit. So unless somebody knows something different, that's the way I would go. You could, all right, one more quick suggestion. You could use a Hot Wire Foam Factory product. They have, of course, they have foam coat, but it's not going to work great because it's got a lot of texture. If you applied it over the top and over the sides, and then were willing to sand it relatively smooth, it would work. But they also have Styroplast. I was trying to think of the name, and that is a plastic foam coating. And I did a video way back doing a review of it in the Wayback Machine. And it is a somewhat flexible plastic when it hardens, and that gives it some resiliency. So if it dings, right, it'll have a little memory and it will come back, depends on how hard you hit it. That would be another option. That's a little trickier because it is, you know, it's basically an epoxy or a resin or plastic, right? So you have to mix it up, apply it before it sets, and get a nice smooth covering. Durable, looks good, a little practice in applying it, and it's a little bit more expensive. I'm trying to think if you could use another two-part, you know, resin plastic, like from Smooth On. Maybe. That would be my last option. I've not tried it. You could get a two-part plastic like Smoothcast 320 or something like that, smoothon.com, and then they have fillers that you could add to it, so you could thicken it a little bit, and then you could apply it and get a little bit more of a coating. But I have no idea about how to get that really smooth and how difficult that would be. So it's something to think about. And if you try it, let me know, show me some pictures of it, and I can maybe help you get a better effect out of it, but I have not tried that. So there's a variety of options hopefully one of those works for you. He has some Vallejo water effects, and he has them, he opened up the tub recently and found out that it has started to dry out. Now, it didn't dry, it's still, you know, moist, but it's, you know, getting stiffer, and it's not as a soft-bodied as it was previously. And he wanted to know if he could reconstitute it, or, you know, with water. I don't think so. I wouldn't do that, mainly because when you add, try a small bit. I don't think it's going to work. It can make it cloudy when it tries to dry clear, so they typically say don't use water. You could try a gloss medium, and you know, it's an art supply product. You can get a tub of it, and you probably find other uses for it, but you might try gloss medium, and that would be maybe an easier way to cut something into it to thin it. Your biggest problem is going to be introducing air bubbles into it, and so you might want to do it not in the jar, but each time you want to use some, take some out, put it on a pallet, use a palette knife to scrape it into it, kind of the way people mix oil paints on a palette, right? You put a dab down and then you blend it by pushing it out, scrape, blend, scrape, blend. And you're going to introduce less air bubbles that way, because any bubbles you introduce into it are never going to go away, because it's too thick for them to migrate to the surface. So I would try gloss medium. That would be my, my go-to. Of course, if it gets thick, but you can still work with it, then it makes a good product for using, making chopped, you know, chopped water, right, at the bottom of a waterfall, something stiff where you can get some peaks into it. So you could use it as it is if you find the right application. He was asking me if you can paint the water like white, you know, maybe for foam, and he was concerned that it would make it a matte camera. So if you're concerned about it being matte, you could put a gloss medium over it, and that would just bring the luster back up. But don't forget that if you look at pictures of white water or foam or splashing, it has a more of a matte look. So don't be afraid to leave it matte if it's choppy water. But he also asked about still water, using like Vallejo still water. And he said that using paint made it matte. So that implies to me that he was applying it to the surface, which I'm not sure if that's right. If you want to tint the water, then I would use paint or inks. It's up to you. And paints are going to give you, I've probably mentioned this in the past, paints are going to give you a more opaque, murky look, and inks are going to give you a more translucent look, where it's, you know, tinting the water rather than representing, you know, cloudy water, for instance. But you can also combine them. So if you're looking for a color change in the water, that's what I recommend. If you want to apply a color to the top of it, I wouldn't. Nothing's going to work right. I think ink will bead up and paint won't look right, and so that's what I would do. I get inks at Dick Blick online, and they have a selection of colors. And if you are not sure about the color that you're ordering, and you're looking for a teal, and they have green, get the blue, blend it together. It's like, I don't know, $2 a pot, something like that. You'll have them. You can use them for future projects. I think that's all the questions. Hopefully you found something here helpful. If you are interested in submitting questions to the Q&A, the little thing that pops up here every video, that has the address that you email your questions to. I let them build up till there's maybe 5 or 6, and then I'll come back and I'll try to address them with whatever knowledge I can bring to bear on the topic. Actually, maybe I should do this in the future. I felt like it went kind of smooth. But I do want to thank people who did submit questions and included a couple kind words. I don't often read those out, but I do appreciate those being included. And I found the pictures an interesting idea. So I don't want to discourage you from doing that. I think that might be nice. If you have a project underway and you want some help with it, take a photo of it, send it along. I'll stick it up on the screen and we can all talk about it. And of course, viewers often provide other suggestions. I always say the comment section is a resource as much as I might be. Don't forget to skim the comment section. And if you want to leave a comment or question, always welcome to do so. So thank you once again for joining me. If you're new to the channel, I welcome you. If you're a subscriber, even better. And don't forget that there's a playlist with all the other Q&As, and I also have all of them annotated in the description with the question that was asked and the time that it was asked, you know, so you can jump to it. So if you're gonna send a question to the Q&A, just go back and skim those. I say that. I was just skimming them to see if any of these were on there. And there were a lot of, I just skimmed quite a few. So, but you'll probably find something you weren't gonna ask, but you found helpful. But take a look at those, just see if we can avoid double questions, and send me some. So stay tuned, because I have a putty review coming up, and hopefully, with that said, you know I will be back soon with another TerranScapes video. I've annotated them, and Mike, I just want to mention, I'm just a lot to learn, and I'm always impressed by the people who do that for a living, whatever it is. This is terrible. This is terrible.